Hey y'all, this is Chef Ava with Ava's Low Country Cuisine, and on this episode we're featuring our red beans and rice, vegan style. Ever thought about having red beans and don't want to put no meat in there, but you're trying to figure out how to make it a vegan dish? Well, you would definitely want to tune into this episode to figure out that. Stay tuned. Red beans and rice, kind of like a southern dish, something you can eat. People put spice or whatever you want in there. You can put meat, but this one we're doing vegan. So we're going to have our vegan vegetable broth. You definitely want to have that. You want to definitely have assortment of veggies. So we're using rosemary, sage, onions, and peppers, and celery. These are what we're going to put into our vegan. And you want to make sure you soak your beans the night before, just to help so they can get nice and tender before you put them in the pot to cook. We're also going to do long grain rice. So you want to have about 2 cups of long grain rice so you can have to put over your red beans. So let's start. First thing we need to do, we need to chop up our veggies. We want to turn our stove on to medium heat so it can start getting hot while we chop up our veggies. You don't have to chop them up nice and pretty and fine. You just want to chop them up till they can go in the pot, kind of little small dice. With this dish, you can add different type of spices you want to it. You can have a little heat to it. We're going to add just a touch of heat to our red beans and rice. As you know, being in the Carolinas, we love our rice. So this would be a good dish. Also comes from a Louisiana area too. They love red beans and rice and sausage. So we're just gonna chop this celery up and we're gonna start dropping these in our pot so it can start sauteing. We're gonna put that aside. We're gonna be using a plant-based butter. So this is just not a regular butter. This is a plant-based butter that we're using, made from different assortments of plants. Cut off about 1 tablespoon. You just need a little bit of butter to coat the pan because you're just sauteing. Now, if you don't want to use a plant-based butter, you can definitely use the olive oil and just saute your veggies. So we're gonna start by putting those in there, letting that milk. So we're gonna put our celery in our pan. And we're gonna cut up a little bit more and we're gonna grab that pepper. So you wanna do 2 stalks of celery. Just make sure you already wash it, have it prepped and ready to go. And you just wanna chop it up and you wanna drop it in your pan. Like I said, just kind of small dice chops. You're gonna put that in there. This is something you definitely do with your little ones if they like chopping. I brought them like a little kid knife so they can get in the kitchen and help mommy. We have this chop. We're gonna drop this last little bit of celery. So you can use a yellow onion. You wanna make sure you cut off the ends of your yellow onion. Peel the skin off. You're gonna put everything right back on the edge of that plate. Then you're gonna slice your onion. Keep it all together when you're slicing it. Definitely slice and keep. You want to just hold it with your hand, pull that out, or even put it back in like that. And now we can just drop these right in there, flip it over, and let these saute all along with the celery. The goal is to add a lot of veggies, a lot of onions, a lot of different things. You can definitely add carrots to this if you want to, or you can add different type of peppers. If you want jalapeno peppers, you can. So we have sweet, red, yellow, and green peppers. We want to cut these. You're going to cut it. Now, easy way, there's a couple of ways you can cut a pepper. I'm going to show you my way. So we're going to slice it right there, cut the end off. We're going to pull it open, and we're going to clean the seeds out. This is something you can just put aside on your plate. And you're gonna clean it like this. Just take your knife and run it down. Clean out the white pieces of your pepper and put it right there. All right, so now we wanna make sure all the seeds are out. I really think about using all pieces of pepper. So on this pepper, you can cut around the green part and you can use this in your dish too. So you don't have to waste or even save it for later. But we're gonna chop this up. We're gonna take our pepper, we're gonna slice it and then chop it. I'm just gonna chop it up. Like I said, it doesn't have to be perfect if you don't want it to be. Now if you do, you can get into all your knife skills. This would be a great way to practice. So we're gonna drop that in there. You're gonna turn your heat up a little high now, about close to high heat, because we want to start sauteing these veggies down. All right, then we're just gonna chop this up. So you want to make sure you saute these and stir it up. So once you have all your vegetables in there, your celery, your onion, and your peppers, you want to make sure you stir it up. We're gonna add a little bit of more vegan butter. I want to make sure we add about 2 tablespoons of that vegan butter in here. You can always purchase this from any grocery store. Just ask for plant-based butter and it can point you in the right direction. So what we want is a little bit of color on our veggie. We wanted to give it some color. So we want to kind of reduce it and caramelize it a little bit. So while this is sauteing, we're going to do rice. So a lot of people cook rice a lot of different ways. Even in my household, we cooked rice differently. When I first met my husband, he didn't know how to cook rice the way I cooked. So growing up in Carolina, that was like a one thing you have to know how to cook is rice. Because like I told you, we eat rice with every dish. So my mom would teach us how to cook rice to the point where you don't need a rice cooker or anything. So I'm going to show you how I cook rice. So we're going to take our pot and we're going to pour our rice in there. Now you're going to fill up your rice pot until it's about 2 inches off from the top of the rice. So we need a little bit of water. So the trick for rice is you want to keep it covered. You want to make sure it's covered and you let it simmer down until the rice looks like the water has evaporated the rice, and turn it on low heat and don't open it. So we're going to put this on the stove and let it start boiling. Make sure you add some of your vegan butter to your rice, just to give it a little bit of flavor. Once this is almost evaporated, you want to make sure you cover it and turn it on low. The lowest heat you can, and don't touch it for about 20 minutes. You can't go wrong with rice. We used to make fun of each other in our house about how we cook rice. My husband saw the way I started cooking rice and he was like, what? I say, yep, being little and being home, you gotta know how to cook rice. You wouldn't make it in Charleston if you didn't. All right, so the veggies are starting to saute down and you can start to smell everything coming together. So now what we're going to do, we're going to add our red beans in. So these are red beans. If you want to use kidney beans, you can. I would prefer just to use the small red beans. So you want to saute this, and you want to make sure you bring this to a boil before you do anything. So let this come to a boil before you start adding your vegetable broth. And you want to do half vegetable broth and half water, just because it's going to reduce and it's going to cook down. So it's going to start off with a lot of liquid before you put everything in there. So while we're waiting on that, we're going to start adding our seasonings. So we want to use a little bit of smoked paprika. We're going to use a little bit of black pepper. We want to use a little bit of chili powder. We want to use a little bit of rosemary sea salt. Or you can use regular white salt, sea salt. You can infuse your salt, black salt. You can use whatever you want, as long as you put salt. You want to add a little bit of garlic powder. And we're going to add some Creole. Now you want to stir this. Now the chili powder is going to add a little bit of heat to this dish. And this also, once your beans start to cook down, what it's going to do is it's going to become kind of thick. So you want to make sure that now all your beans and all your seasoning has coated and it's been sauteed with your peppers, your onions, and celery. All right, so what we want to do, we're going to come over here real fast and stir our rice. So you want to make sure you stir your rice from the bottom. Just stir it a little bit. And as you see, your butter has already melted. Your water is about to evaporate from the rice. So once it does that, you want to put your lid on and reduce it. So it has like a couple of minutes more on your rice. All right. So now we want to add our liquid. So you want to add about 3 cups of vegetable broth. And you want to get some water. So make sure you do half-half. 3 cups of vegetable, 3 cups of water. So we're getting some water and we want to add that too. Now you want to make sure you stir this really good and to get everything. And you want to put a lid on this and just let it simmer. If you don't have to, you can just let it boil until the beans are nice and tender. Now our rice is almost done. So we're gonna do one last stir with our rice. And as you see, the water is already starting to evaporate. You wanna make sure you put it on low and you wanna cover it. Now let this cook for about 20 minutes until nice and fluffy. Do not remove the lid. Once 20 minutes is up, your rice will be done. So we're gonna come back in a few minutes once our beans simmer down, and we're gonna be adding some herbs and we're gonna plate this dish. So we're gonna check our red beans. So we're gonna get ready to open this up and make sure you're always stirring it in between. All right, so our beans are almost ready. Now we're gonna check our rice. And as you can see, our rice is nice and fluffy. Look at that. Quick, easy, fluffy rice what you can have for your red beans and rice. And it doesn't even take that long. It's like a 1-pot dish, cooking rice. We're gonna chop up some herbs because we wanna use the herbs to put in our red bean sauce. So let's put in, we have some rosemary here. So let's take the rosemary off the vine. A little bit of sage. We're just gonna use a couple of pieces and then we're just gonna chop this up. So let's chop it up. Oh, having fresh herbs and dishes is always good. Yep. So we're gonna add this right to our red beans. We're gonna stir this. Just add a little bit more aroma to it. Adding some herbs. All those flavors together. All right. And when we get back, we're gonna plate this whole dish together. So our red beans and rice have already just about finished. We took a little bit out of the pot and we have our rice. So we're gonna come over here and we're gonna show you guys how to plate this. So we're gonna take our bowl. We're gonna remove that. I'm gonna get you a spoon from the side. And you wanna just put some of those rice right in this bowl. And like I said, this is a good dish. You can even eat this in the cold wherever you're at. It's a really good hearty dish that you can eat. Vegans, vegetarian, don't feel like meat, or even yourself, you can definitely eat this. So see how fluffy our rice is. We're gonna add some of this red beans with all the veggies. We're gonna plate that really good. We're gonna add a little bit more of that juice on here. And it smells good having all that. Doesn't that look good? And before we finish, we just want to top it off with some fresh herbs. Now, like I said, this dish, you can use this for when it's cold outside, or just a nice Sunday dinner, or a dish you don't even want to have meat in it. This would be a good dish. It has lots of veggies. You can even add more veggies in it if you want to. Again, thanks for watching our red beans and rice episode. Follow us on our Instagram and Facebook page, or even if you have any questions or anything about this dish, send us an email at admin@avascuisine.com or avascuisine@gmail.com. Definitely follow us for more recipes. If you like your seasonings or anything to be featured or your produce, definitely reach out to us. We'll love to feature your items on our next episode. Again, see you guys soon.